So, yes, thank you everyone for joining today for the IoT Explained webinar that we're going to be doing. So, yeah, the kind of purpose for today. If you want to jump on the next slide, Liv, we'll run through a little bit of the agenda. So, yeah, I think the whole point of us, we were chatting about this a few months ago internally, and I think a lot of resellers who we've got currently, some are using IoT with us, some aren't, some have never heard of the phrase. And I think the whole point in this webinar today is to just help you guys understand actually what it is. So what is the product, what's the opportunity out there, and what we can deliver and what we can support you with. So and yeah, we'll kind of go into a bit more detail around that. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew Begg. I'm the head of sales of Eclipse. I've kindly asked Anton, who is from one of our suppliers for IoT, which is Zest4. So Zest4 does a huge amount of mobile for us, and they have a really good IoT offering. There's other organizations out there who have an IoT offering as well, but I think we've kind of leveraged our mobile spend with Anton to get good rates and good service and give you guys a really good product, really. So yeah, you can see the agenda. I'm not going to read out, you guys can read. I'm not going to read out the bullet points and make it boring. The whole point of this is just going to be quite open, conversational. When I don't know what I'm talking about, Anton's going to fill it in. And yeah, we're just going to have an open chat, and hopefully you guys come away from it and see the opportunity that you or your resellers or prospects might have. So yeah, do you want to jump in the next slide, Liv? So what is IoT? So I think I'll kick that over to you, Anton. Do you want to do a little bit of a hello, who you are, and yeah, just kick it off.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, so as Matt said, my name's Anton. I work for Zest4 IoT. I'm the sales director there, and I've been selling IoT services now for longer than I care to remember, both at a mobile network level and also from a Zest4 point of view. So hopefully I'll give you a bit of insight into what is IoT today, and what it means to you and what you can get out of it. So starting off with that first question, what is IoT? For me, I hate the term IoT because it's not one single thing. It's not something that you can sell. IoT is a network of devices that are connected to the internet and are going to be transferring data without any human-to-human interaction. If you Google what is IoT, what you see on screen is what you get back. So physical objects with sensors, processing ability that are communicating backwards and forwards. So while we say we are selling IoT, we're not actually selling the IoT. We're selling things that form part of the IoT to enable us to make our customers more efficient and also generate additional revenue for us. So effectively, any device that's connected to the internet will be deemed as forming part of the IoT. You're going to flick on the slide, Liv. So I'm just trying to simplify it, really, what it means about the IoT. Everyone currently, I dare say, on this call will have something that's connected to the IoT, whether it's a smartwatch, whether it's an Alexa device or a Ring doorbell, a tablet, some form of CCTV. All these things that are connected to the internet will form part of the IoT. But if I went to a customer and started trying to sell him IoT, he probably wouldn't know what I was talking about. If I explained to him about how his device worked, how it connected to the internet, and how it transferred data seamlessly, he'd have more of an understanding of that. So we all contribute towards the IoT currently, but we don't all monetize it. We don't all generate revenue from it, because we're not selling these types of consumer devices. Okay, you might sell a few tablets and smartphones and things like that, but we're not generally selling sort of consumer devices that connect to the IoT. So flick on one for me, please, Liv. So to monetize it, we've really got to understand what our end users do and how our end users could benefit by having something and I'll use the word thing at the moment, that is connected or forms part of the IoT. One of the first questions I always ask when meeting a new customer is, have you got anything in your business that you have to track, monitor, measure, or control? And if you have, are you doing that manually at the moment? Because if the answer is yes to that question, then 9 out of 10 times, you could probably give them some business efficiencies if you could automate that manual process, whether that be tracking a product or a person, whether that be sort of monitoring water levels, whether it be sort of monitoring airflow, measuring temperatures, sort of controlling gates opening, closing, etc., monitoring fridges. It's irrelevant what they're doing if it's in their business where they're tracking, monitoring, measuring, or controlling something, and they're doing it using a manual process. Think about how you could automate that to create business efficiencies and generate some additional revenue for both you and potentially your customer.
Yeah, because I think
and then the other two. Sorry,
I'm just
Matt,
going to jump in there, Anton, and just say, yeah, the few things that we've seen quite a lot of recently was like EV charging. So EV charging's a massive growing market. We've got some of our resellers who are really, really strong in that market currently, who have been delivering basically like a Wi-Fi service near the EV points in remote locations. So they were doing it for a specific council. Something that sticks to mind is where the council had a obligation to the small town that they could deliver EV charging in that area. The networks were absolutely terrible there. The council had to give away free electricity. So because they had an obligation to do it, they ran it for 12 months and each charger was costing them £50,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it was they were getting used pretty heavily. And yeah, so they basically put in a IoT service to ourselves. It was a 2 gig. They did a pilot sites, which was 7 sites, 2 gig multi-network SIM. They were getting 20 meg or something up and down on both sides, absolutely usable for the EV charging, and then could then actually charge the customers for that service instead of doing it themselves. I think the customer charged it out for pennies compared to the 50 grand a year the council was currently paying, and they went, "Oh, right, well, can you do the other 70 sites?" So there's been a big opportunity that's come around that. You know, a lot of our resellers that have bought IoT in the past, they've gone, "Oh, I just need like an unlimited data SIM with 4G for a router on a site." That's not probably a lot of what the IoT, where you see the most functionality and the best service out of it, to be honest. So, but that's the EV space is a cool market. You mentioned something the other day, Anton, as well, where you had a customer who was putting in multi-network SIMs in laptops, and then they were basically all of their new starters that were working all over the country just had a multi-network SIM in. All of the data was pooled, so they had basically a usage of, let's say, 100 gig or a terabyte or something across all of these laptops, and then no matter where that user was, they could just have instant access to the internet, using all the 4 main carriers in the UK. Even if they went abroad, we could look at putting specific tariffs on abroad for that as well. That's the good thing with IoT, where you can add on tariffs in different countries quite actively as well. So you can add on ones in, let's say customers in France, you can go, all right, we'll put a French tariff on here for a data tariff. So it is they're like world traveling SIMs as well, which sees really good. Taxi data heads was another thing that one of our resellers, who I believe is on the call as well, has been looking at. That is data points for taxis. So the application that they run to track them, to pick up the business, all that kind of stuff, was all run through data heads. And I'm sure that you guys have probably got or know some taxi customers already that they will be using this service, or if they won't, it will be a service that they'll be using in the near future. So yeah, back to you. Sorry, Anton, I just thought I'd
no, that's fine, Matt.
Try to be useful.
And what you can do, so you can apply that to pretty much any customer as well. So we're seeing quite a lot of, use an example, we've got a big DIY warehouse with one of our customers, and you see a lot of examples where they have external products in their store, so paint mixing machines. They don't own the paint mixing machines, they're provided by a third party. And it used to be that the paint mixing machines were operated using the DIY warehouses connectivity. But obviously, with security concerns and things like that, more and more large corporates are now saying third parties can no longer have access to our sites, to our connectivity. So they have to provide their own. So we had to go around, well, not we, but one of my partners had to go around and put sort of modules and modems into all the paint mixing machines with a multi-network SIM, so that they could still contact those devices, control them, monitor and measure them. So you'll find that there's going to be more and more opportunities coming up where you've never even thought about putting connectivity in there, but by doing it, will create some additional revenue for you. And then if you come on to the other two things that we've not spoke about here, so fixed line replacement or backup and failover, critical. So I'm sure everyone on this webinar runs their business using some form of online services. And if your internet went down, if the water board were outside and cut through your broadband connection and they were told you would have no service for the next 2 to 3 weeks, it would cripple you, or cripple most people anyway. So fixed line replacement or backup and failover using cellular services as part of an IoT connection could be critical. And it could be that from a backover and failover service, you can offer something that's quite cost effective while it's not being used, just as that security. And as you said, Matt, if you then have multiple sites, we can pool all that data for those sites. So if one site fails over, it just eats data out of the other sites and vice versa. So it can be quite a cost efficient way of putting a backup service into a fixed line operation.
Mm-hmm.
Can we move on, Liv? So we spoke about what it is, the IoT, but I think that this slide, while it doesn't say a lot on the face of it, I think is quite critical, because we need to identify what we're actually selling. Some people will sell everything and a full end-to-end solution, but if you're just moving into this space, you've probably not got a packaged end-to-end solution that you can sell to a customer. And the things that make up an IoT service are usually, the first thing, if you look on the left-hand side, some sort of sensor or device that's out in the field or somewhere remotely that's capturing data. And it may be that that customer has 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 sites or 50 taxis, 50 EV points, whatever it may be. They're going to have a point of contact that's collecting data. They will then send that data to the little router looking thing at the top of the screen there. I don't know if you can see my mouse, this one here. Send that data to a single point. So it will capture all the data from 50 different devices and send it via 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever service it's using at the time, to an online portal or platform or service. Because once they've got that data, they've got to have something that makes sense of that data. So they're the three key things that actually form an IoT solution. But the most critical piece of that is the connectivity, the fourth one. How that data gets from point 1 to point 2 and point 2 to point 3 and back again to point 1. And that's the bit that we sell. That's where we come in as resellers. We don't have to provide the initial sensor. In a lot of cases, they may already have something. We don't have to provide the software. They may already have something. And we don't have to provide the router. They may have something. We can if they want it. And if you don't have these services, and that's where Matt and his team and the Zesport team will come in, we will help you find or bring partners in that can provide the front end solution, the back end software. But where you make your money is the connectivity, because if these devices can't talk to each other seamlessly, the IoT proposition doesn't work. And it's that data that we then going to monetize, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you want to move on, Liv? So, as I said earlier, if you go into a customer and say, do you want to buy some IoT? And we've done some surveys and had some sort of market research done, and it's quite clear that 87% of people don't know what the IoT is or understand what it means. So for me, if you're moving into this space, you've got to stop talking about IoT and talk about the bit that makes us the money. So on the previous slide, we talked about connectivity. We call it managed connectivity. And this is the difference between what you're selling today using your mobile SIMs and what you will be selling using one of Eclipse's IoT SIMs. So the key features of managed connectivity means you have full visibility of what every device is doing. You can see the data flow to the device and from the device in real time. So if you put I think Matt mentioned earlier, yeah, a cellular broadband SIM in a device, the device is going to connect to the internet, but you don't necessarily know when it's connected. You don't know how much data it's sending. You don't know how much data it's receiving, and you won't know this until the bill comes in 6 weeks' time. So you've got no visibility. And also that SIM will have what we call a dynamic IP on there. And I'm not going into too much detail about IPs, but basically a dynamic IP is an IP address that changes each time it connects to the internet. Now, to be able to locate a cellular device remotely, you have to know the IP address. If that's changing every time, that's impossible to do. So with your managed connectivity SIMs that Matt will supply, each one will have a fixed IP, which means every time it connects to the internet, the IP address will stay the same. That means you can remotely access it from anywhere to be able to see what that SIM's doing. And we then route that data through a private network rather than using the O2 network or the Vodafone network as an example, by giving it a private APN. So doing that means we can actually see exactly in real time what that device is doing, how much data it's sending, how much it's receiving, when it's connected, when it's not connected. And we can then start to do things like pool the data. So if you've got 100 SIMs on an account, we can share that data within 100 SIMs, and you can see how much the account's using as a whole, rather than just individually. You can start run reports on the data and run reports on what your devices are doing. If one of the devices is not working, you can ping it, you can do some remote diagnostics. So what we're doing now is creating a resilient network for your IoT base or your customer's IoT base that will give them complete control of the data flow and the data management and remote device management, which is what you can't do if you're just using the standard mobile SIM.
Mhm. And I think that's
And
what one of the things we're going to, I'll just jump in again there. One of the things that we're obviously going to do post call is give you guys a free multi-network device. Well, free multi-network SIM. We're going to try and push the eSIM route, to be honest, just so we don't have to send 20 letters out to different people or 30 letters out to people. So if you can use an eSIM, we're going to provide that for the next 30 days. We'll also get you added on to the granular access portal to the IoT. So you can basically look, you can use that device within a you can use that eSIM within a device. You can use it in your phone, you can use it wherever, however you want to use it, but you can also see how it's managed and the tools that you get through us as well. So that'll all be done post call for everybody who's joined. And yeah, you can have a play around and see what you think over the next 30 days and see the value in it yourself.
And one of the good things about the SIMs that they're going to be providing you, as Matt said, it is going to be a roaming SIM. So effectively, it's a SIM that will use all 4 of the UK networks. But if you start thinking about talking to customers who are in manufacturing, as an example, if I'm manufacturing a device in the UK, but I'm shipping this device worldwide when I sell it, and I need some connectivity in that device, one of the problems I have is I don't know where that device is going to be sold at a point of manufacturer. So it means I've got to put connectivity in afterwards or leave it to the end user to put the connectivity in. If I've got a SIM card that is going in at the point of manufacture, and I can decide what network that uses after the point of sale, irrespective of where that device is sold, whether it be in the UK, in France, in Italy, in Germany, etc., it doesn't matter to me, because as soon as I know it's been sold in a location, I can then over the air put a mobile network on that's relevant to the region that that device has been sold in. So from a manufacturing point of view, the eSIM solution is going to be critical moving forward, and it will really see that industry sort of grow from a connectivity point of view.
Absolutely.
Liv? So I suppose just to summarize managed connectivity here, Matt, cover some of the things we just said. So, as I say, you can share data and have real-time visibility. So if you've got 100 SIMs with a gig of data on each one, that's going to give you 100 gigabyte pool. This is where it really works for failover type services. So if you've got a 100 gigabyte pool and one device fails over, chances are, even when it fails over, you're not going to use all of that 100 gig, and you're not going to have all 100 devices failing over at the same time. If you have, you've got more of a problem than you want on your hands. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
So having that real-time visibility of data can really help you there as well. Alerts and caps, we've not mentioned this, but if you're using managed data, it means you can put on the portal, tell me if a SIM hits 80% of its data utilization. And if you know that SIM's hit 80% of its data utilization in the first 5 days of the month, there's potentially, again, something going wrong, something not working, or you can add more data, etc.
Yeah.
You can put a cap in place. You can put, and again, on the eSIM solution, we've got a hard cap. So it means you can say, as soon as this SIM hits its limit, turn it off. You can then go onto the portal and decide whether you want to turn it back on again, use more data, add more data. What I'm trying to get at is it's putting you in control, or your customers in control of their estate. If that makes sense.
I think we've seen one of the things that we've seen on the IoT SIMs that we've pushed out was firmware upgrades. So like they've rolled out managed connectivity for specific devices that are in rural locations, and firmware updates got pushed through. The vendor didn't let anybody know. They just went, we're just going to push these firmware updates through that were like 500 meg each. But you do that across like 100 devices, and then before you know it, your data pool's gone straight away. So that kind of stuff got managed very well at the start. And using these caps got managed, and then went back and went, do you realize that your provider's pushed it through, basically pushing more data than we agreed to at the start? It needs to put a bolt on. So which we can do actively mid-month and just bolt it on straight away. So but managed it well for the customer, so it wasn't either bill shock from a big bill coming through saying, you've used more than you have. The conversation was raised before any issues came to light.
Perfect. Ideal. And this is why I say try selling people managed connectivity rather than IoT. Makes a huge difference. Cliff?
I'll let you.
And I suppose just to give insight into what we let me talk this one. So some insight into what we're seeing in the IoT space, to be honest with you. As I said, I've been around in IoT for a long while now. So I've seen it grow, but at the moment it is really, really taking off. By the end of 2022, there was 14.3 billion active endpoints in IoT. And in 2022, it grew 18%. So far for 2023, we've seen a slight decline. Analysts are saying it's going to go by about 16% to 16.7 billion active endpoints. But when you think about 16.7 billion, bear in mind there's less than 8 billion of us on the planet. That's 2 endpoints for every single individual, irrespective of age or location. That is huge. And the fact that it's growing so quickly, it just means what I'm trying to get at, if you're not talking to your partners and your customers about connectivity now, or IoT now, or however you want to position it, someone will be at some point, because it's growing that much. More and more businesses, particularly if you work with a lot of councils, and those types of sort of organizations, they're looking at smart cities, smart buildings, smart parking, smart street lighting. Everyone's looking now, and the government are regularly giving grants out to councils and local authorities to actually make themselves more efficient using some form of connectivity. So now is I think personally the optimum time to be getting into IoT or managed type connectivity, because you'll be shocked at how much opportunity there is out there.
Yeah, I think something else to touch on as well on that, Anton, is the probably the most exciting for some of you guys is the value it changes in your business. So There's a couple of IoT companies who've just done IoT or done other things and had IoT in the stack. The value of their business when it's come to exit or sale is drastically different. So the IoT certainly increases the multiple quite considerably, as I'm sure Anton's aware from Zest's recent
Yeah.
merger, should we call it,
Don't,
or acquisition? I don't know. There's a specific name for it, but we'll not touch on it.
don't, don't mind sharing, but yes. So early this year, someone invested in Zest as a business, and at Zest we've got mobile, we've got fixed line, we've got sort of connectivity services, etc. And the multiples for that business were sort of 8, 9, up to 10 times. However, once we added Zest for IoT into that, it took the multiples up to 19, 20. So it almost doubled the multiples, the value of the business, by having some form of IoT offering within there. Now, that's not going to happen to you day one, clearly. But if you can demonstrate at the point of sale or investment, if you can demonstrate that you've got an active IoT base in there and it's growing, and you've got access to these services, it will make a huge difference to the value of your organization, because that's what funders are looking for currently.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what, if you look at the slide in front of you, it doesn't matter what sector you focus on. Some people may be sector specific, some people will sell sort of right across the range. We've seen growth in pretty much all areas. I know this only goes to the end of 2022 because we've not had 2023 numbers in yet. But if you take automotive as an example, people have been selling tracking and telematics services into vehicles for years. So you'd assume that that's got to stop at some point, but it doesn't, because technology is moving so quickly. There's always something new. So we're seeing sort of telematics services be replaced every sort of 2 to 3 years. And again, if you've got a good one in there from day one, they'll come back to you for the next one and the next one and the next one. Healthcare is growing significantly right now. After the sort of COVID and the pandemics, we're seeing more and more doctors, surgeries, hospitals, and private practices that are trying to do remote patient monitoring rather than sort of seeing people sort of face to face. And again, connectivity is playing a huge role in that one. Energy and utilities. Everybody's got a smart meter now. Matt spoke earlier about sort of the EVs, solar panels, anything like that is all going to need connectivity to make it work. Smart buildings. So what I'm trying to get at here is don't think, oh, there's not going to be anybody in my customer base that wants this, because irrespective of what sector they work in, whether they've got 5 employees or 500 employees, there's potentially an IoT opportunity there. But have the conversation. Anything in your business you have to track, control, monitor, or measure. I'll go back to that one, because if there is, you can start talking about some sort of managed connectivity solution that may make them more efficient. Cliff? Do you want to cover this one, Matt? Are you?
Yeah, I can do. I think everyone's been probably bored to death on the 2025 switch off. I think it's been brought up. We hummed and hawed about putting this slide in, but I think it's still relevant. It's still a conversation to be had in remote locations. And yeah, it is a subject that, will not jump into it too much, but it has been drilled into everyone. But again, all of these services that are going to be turned off in 2025, they have to change to something. So if there's going to be a full fiber provider that's going to be there, possibly not. Potentially, if they are, they might not be good. They might be bought or sold by the time that actually gets there, or gone bust. So yeah, there is lots of opportunity on this PSTN switch off to migrate those services to a 5G device, basically, depending on what that is, what it's used for. See, lift lines is a bit of a challenging one, because naturally you don't get any phone signal in a lift, so they might be one of the ones that are potentially picked up last. However, stuff in care homes and things like that, there's definitely opportunity here for it as well. So fire and alarm monitoring, CCTV is a big one as well. So we know some of our resellers do lots of work in CCTV, and pretty much all of them are changing. All of their services now are changing pretty much as soon as they come out of contract with their existing supplier, moving it across to an IoT or a managed connectivity service, instead of using either customer equipment or the old PSTN or broadband that was in on that site.
Absolutely.
Next slide, Liv, unless you want
that,
to touch on anything there, Anton.
No, I'm just going to say one that is, I suppose, probably not part of the IoT switch off, but I suppose it links to it. That's not on there that we're seeing a huge increase in is in the security space within sort of CCTV and ANPR. So most of these services historically have been run over fixed line services. But security cameras now are now going up sort of all over the place, in a lot of rural locations where there's not necessarily a fixed line service there. So more and more operators are generating or developing cellular cameras that will work either solar powered or have some power in there, but using cellular services to transmit the data. One of the challenges you have with CCTV is it's event driven. So it only if when the camera is using data, it uses data when somebody trips a camera 9 out of 10 times. So it could be that a camera trips once a month, just catching somebody or something walking by. It could be that camera's tripping every 5 minutes, once a day, every 5 minutes during the day for 24 hours a day, 30 days a month. So you don't know how much data that camera is going to utilize until after it's utilized it. And this is one of the challenges with just putting a standard cellular sort of SIM in there. So what we can do with the managed connectivity is put a SIM in there so you can see when that camera is being tripped. And if you put a fixed IP SIM in there, it means you can remotely access that camera and you can see what the camera can see in real time. So we are seeing a huge influx of CCTV and security firms. Even CCTV installers are coming to us now wanting to get in on selling connectivity in their solutions, because there's more and more CCTV services moving to cellular connectivity rather than fixed line. So again, it's just one to be aware of when you're talking to people within your base.
So yeah, go on, I'll jump in on this. So yeah, what's in it for your business? We've kind of touched on pretty much all of this in the webinar anyway, but again, yeah, new business. So one of our resellers, who I believe is on the call here, is growing massively just off IoT. He's got in well with councils, and yeah, they just seem to be they're not even trying to win business. As soon as they've started to deliver this service for one organization, they're just getting referrals to other ones, and then before they know it, it's just he says for the last 6 months he's not even tried to sell. People are just coming to him and just not even arguing about price or anything, because it's so aggressive commercially, or just so it's not that it's aggressive commercially, it's just priced totally different to how other things have been priced before in the past. So if the data usage is low, which they usually are, then it is cheap. It is really cheap product. So base growth again, yeah, new customers, new connections, more opportunity, keeps your customer stickier with you. If you're not selling this service, similar to what Anton said before, it's a technology that's been around for a while, but it's like AI, isn't it? Like IoT and AI, it's like, no, it's kind of not everybody knows how it's delivered or what it means or what happens with it, but it's a real buzzword at the moment that's generating traction in the market. So, and then again, enhances the portfolio. We touched on that before with the sale. With the sale and the value of your business, then all it's going to do is make it worth more. So yeah, should we jump onto the next slide there, Liv? How we support you. So yeah, technical support. So if you need any advice on how to provision it or how to manage it, our team can do all that for you. And any faults that come around there, we can be your outsourced IoT support. And sales support, if you need anything. If you let's say you've got a large opportunity with a customer, and you want my help or Anton's help, even I can pull him on calls and we can help you write proposals or with marketing support on collateral. So if you've got a specific industry that you want to target, we can potentially build some collateral for you to share with them. If you want to do a little bit of a campaign, billing support as well. So yeah, just managing how this is billed and how it's delivered and all the tariffs. It's different to what you've probably ever billed before, but not in a bad way. Nothing can be more difficult than the kind of legacy PSTN services to bill. So if you've done that before, then this is probably a doddle. And again, portal access. So what we touched on earlier, we can give you guys post-call everyone access to the multi-network eSIM and portal access with that as well. So once it's activated, I think Liv is going to send out an email just saying thanks for everyone joining. And with that, you just forward it to our provisioning team. Our provisioning team will kind of use that as authentication to order it for you. They'll ask for a few details when you want it live for, if you want it live straight away. And yeah, play around with it for 30 days, see what you think. And yeah, sometimes you kind of see the value in something, not just listening to two people chat away for 37 minutes on a call, and actually using it in yourself and going, actually, this is really good. You know, some of our resellers who are using it have been blown away at actually what you can get from it and the value that it can add. So next part of it, next slide there, Liv. Testimonials. Yeah, so this is a nice testimonial from Jamie at Wi-Fi Marketing. So he has done a huge amount of IoT with us and will be doing a huge amount more in the near future. He's got some really large opportunities for it. And yeah, we didn't even pay him for these nice words as well, to be honest. I didn't even ask for it. He just sent this back. Yeah, with no fee. So thank you for that, Jamie. And then what's the last? I think we've gone to the last slide, which is the Q&A. If you've got any questions, pop them in the Q&A section on the chat here now. And we like difficult questions. Anton wants really hard ones that he's going to struggle to answer. So if you've got any questions, if you can't think of them right now, then just share them with us afterwards. You can send an email through to me or Olivia, either one, and we can follow up on that now. So yeah, any questions, drop them in. Otherwise, I believe that is the end. Hopefully everyone hasn't fallen asleep and is really excited to go and talk about IoT or manage connectivity to their customers. So yeah, thanks guys. Anything else to follow up there, Anton, from you?
No, I don't think so. As you say, sort of always happy to support, whether it's just sort of an internal call or whether you're talking to an end user from Zest4 point of view. I can position myself as a consultant to your business, as you know, someone that sort of to your business. I'll position myself however you want. At Zest4, we don't sell anything to end users, so there's no risk of us sort of talking to your customer directly. We only work with partners such as Eclipse, so you use this as a support function.
Great, cool. Well, if there's no questions, we must have been really good, Anton. Because if nobody's got any questions at all, this is great, isn't it? We've given them all the information that they need. So yeah, if you do have any more,
either that or they've all gone to make a coffee and not listening.
That's it. Yeah, they've all gone to sleep. That's probably more like it. Yeah. So yeah, any follow-up questions, just let Liv know when she sends the email. And yeah, good luck, guys. Hopefully it's promising future for managed connectivity and IoT. So thanks all.
Excellent.
Thanks, Anton. Cheers. Bye.